Welcome back to Cinematic Sarcastic, a podcast that talks all things movies and television. I'm Natalie, and I'm your host. On this episode, we are going to be talking House of the Dragon episode 6. The next episode to come out will be my review of Monster, the Jeffrey Dahmer story, so stay tuned for that one. But let's jump into talking about House of the Dragon. In episode 6, this is where we get the leap forward in time. It's been 10 years since episode 5. They changed out a lot of the actors and added obviously quite a few. It was a little bit jarring for me, I would say. I do think Emma Darcy is doing a great job replacing Millie Alcott as Rhaenyra. But I have to say, I am not really feeling the Alicent move. And I don't know if it's just because I cannot stand Alicent. So anyone who plays her, I'm like, I don't like it. Because Alicent she's got to be the most hypocritical, horrible human being maybe ever. And it seems like the time jump between episode 5 and episode 6 has only made her a worse person, not a better person. I am not sure. I know in the books she is a lot more manipulative and, not so great than what they portrayed her as in the first few episodes of the television show. And I feel like they kind of did her a disservice by trying to make her look innocent and sweet. Because then once you get into like episode 6, she is anything but innocent and sweet. And it's almost like she's morphed into a completely different person when really she's just being exactly who she was the whole time. But Alicent is just, Alicent, and I would have to say Sir Criston, I am hoping for some horrible things to happen to them. And that is an awful thing to say, but Sir Criston especially, I want to punch that dude in the throat. Like, I don't know how you go from being super protective of Rhaenyra and smashing some dude's face in because you are so upset about this thing that you've done, sleeping with her and betraying your vow. And then immediately he just turned and he's an Alicent Flacky now. He's Alicent's little bitch boy. And I cannot stand him. And I wish for horrible things. Like, I really like Rhaenyra because I think she just, I have to say, I am preferring the older Rhaenyra to the younger one. I think just her being older, she's settled into like her badassery and her strength, whereas there were some occasions, which makes sense because she was so young, but I didn't like the flip-floppy energy of Rhaenyra when she was younger, where sometimes she would be kind of a badass and then sometimes she was just a spoiled little brat. You don't get that so much with Rhaenyra in this episode. She's definitely just a badass. You see Rhaenyra and Daemon and obviously Alicent 10 years into the future, so they've all had quite a few children by now. Rhaenyra is giving birth to her 3rd child when this one opens, and you can tell that childbirth is meant to be more of a bigger deal than it would be, let's say nowadays. It is definitely keeping with the medieval spirit of Game of Thrones, where you never know, right? Childbirth is just hard. Things could go wrong at any point. There isn't that safe environment that I think a lot of us are aware of in modern times, as far as childbirth. And even in now, childbirth can still be dangerous. So imagine without doctors that knew what the heck they were doing. So Rhaenyra has had 3 sons at this point. Everyone knows that she's been having children with Sir Harwin Strong, who I don't know that anyone would blame her, honestly. I think everyone that was thirsting over Sir Harwin Strong should maybe not thirst anymore. Obviously, he doesn't make it through this episode. It's sad that that has happened because I was excited to kind of see where that went. And his story, well, his and Rhaenyra's, I guess, is probably the saddest one for me in this episode because you can tell that he genuinely cares about and loves his children. I think he genuinely cares about and loves Rhaenyra. Her husband doesn't, in any way, shape, or form. He's off doing his own thing with his own dudes, and he doesn't seem to really give a crap about her having more babies or anything like that. It's like he's living high, and she kind of just has to have these children because they need heirs, But Harwin sadly doesn't make it. Alicent has a new little weasel, which isn't Sir Criston, but there is someone else in the castle whose name I can never remember. Varys, something like that. Varys is that Game of Thrones? Anyway, it's a very similar name, and he is a very similar person. He's a little weasel, and he gets some men and has them go and basically take down not only Sir Harwin Strong, so that blight to Alicent of having to watch him have more children with Rhaenyra is gone. But not only that, he takes out the Hand of the King at the same time. So he basically sets their house on fire, their castle or keep or wherever it is that they have gone, and murders them both at the same time, which gives Alicent the ability now to call her father potentially back to be the Hand of the King again. And in this episode, we do get to see that the king is still alive. I thought, and I was confused when episode 5 ended, because it appeared as though the king was not going to make it. Like, he seemed like he was not doing well at the end of episode 5. And so I assumed, even though I don't know why I was assuming, but I assumed he would be dead at this point, even though Rhaenyra would have taken the throne at that point. And I know that is not likely to happen in this television show, because I know kind of how things are going to progress a little bit, but he is still alive. But my golly, does Viserys not look great? He is missing an entire arm now. So the hand where he was starting to lose fingers, the entire arm is gone. His hair is falling out. It looks like he has some sort of scabs or something all over his face and his head. I don't know. They still have not mentioned what the king is ailing with. I do not know if this is grayscale. I feel as though it isn't, but they haven't mentioned what it is. And I am very curious to know. I am very curious to know what eats away at you in the way that it's eating away at him. But he seems to be, even though he looks worse, physically wise, he seems to be doing okay. Like, he doesn't seem to be falling over and stuff the way that he was in season 5. He seems to mostly be handling it. I know that him and Rhaenyra, I think, or not Rhaenyra, but him and his wife, Alicent, have a couple of little boys who are horrible, horrible children, which should not be shocking to anyone, considering that Alicent is their mother. I think she has 2 sons, and I want to say she has a daughter. And then Daemon as well has gotten married and had a couple of children with the other Valyrian girl that was there. And we see her in this episode as well, being very heavily pregnant. They have 2 daughters. She is going to give birth to their 3rd child. She keeps asking him to take her home. I don't want to be where we are. Let's go back to, where I'm from and let me have my baby there. But unfortunately, we see that this episode is just full of sad things. So when she goes to have her baby, it gets stuck very similarly to Rhaenyra's mother. And Daemon is faced with the exact same challenge, right? You can either potentially try and do a C-section in which the chances of the baby's survival are iffy. I would say 50-50 is probably what he's given, but the mother will definitely die. And before he is able to make that choice, his wife goes out to where her dragon is and asks her dragon, essentially tells the dragon Dracarys, which is to burn her. And it takes the dragon a little while, and then the dragon does actually burn her. And so she dies, and Daemon is now wifeless. And that part, I feel like, was a little bit weird for me. Like, I understand that not having the choice that Rhaenyra's mother had, right? Like, Rhaenyra's mother didn't have the choice on whether or not she would actually go through with the C-section. Viserys made that choice for her, and I don't think that was fair. But at the same time, I don't understand a mother going and killing herself and taking her baby with. Like, if my options were both of us dying or do the C-section and try and save my baby, I think I would opt for the C-section. As awful as that would probably be, because, you know, you don't have any medications or anything, it's going to be the most painful and brutal thing you experience. But if I have the opportunity for my baby to survive, I'm going to do that. So that was a little heartbreaking for me to watch her go and take her own life and take her baby's life with her. But I mean, in that circumstance, I guess you never really know what is going on, you know, or how you're feeling. And I can imagine she probably just figures having her baby go out by dragon is better than the potential of her baby not surviving either way, because she won't be there. And so I guess, you know, I can kind of understand where she's going. I will have to say, I don't know that I understand just swerving from parents to dragons now. I don't understand the dragons in this show. Like, I feel like Drogon and all of the dragons that were in Game of Thrones, they looked very similar to each other. And I liked the look of them. I liked, you know, the design and stuff. But in this episode, we got to see quite a few more dragons. I want to say we got to see like 3 new dragons in this episode. The first one that we get to see is the one that the little boys are training with. And I want to say it was one of Rhaenyra's sons that he was starting to train with his dragon. And that dragon, the CGI of it, I don't know if it was just the coloration or what, but that dragon looked like something from a cartoon, you know, like I was expecting Toothless to like pop up. It did not look like any of the other dragons in the series. And Daemon's dragon looks a little bit different too, like his worm or whatever. I'm not a huge fan of the way that his dragon looks, but his wife in this one, her dragon looks cray. It kind of looks like, I don't know what those creatures are called in Star Wars that George Lucas added in to the beginning of A New Hope that the Stormtrooper was riding on. Her dragon kind of looks like that. And I'm not a huge fan. I don't know. I guess I got really used to the dragons in Game of Thrones, like how Drogon looked. And I genuinely really liked the creature creation of Drogon and like how they made him look. And I haven't really enjoyed the looks of many of the other dragons in this show. I don't know. I guess for some reason I expected them all to look the same, you know, just like different colors, because they're obviously like breeding within each other. And so the fact that they all look quite so different, I'm not understanding why that is, you know, if they're all in the keep and they're all having babies together. But we do get a little hint that not all dragon eggs hatch. So even if you have a dragon egg when a baby is born, that doesn't necessarily mean that that dragon egg will hatch. I think they said something like 50%, like half of them don't hatch. So that's a little sad to me, but I don't know. I mean, they're dragons, so of course you don't want every egg that they lay to hatch or you'd be overrun with dragons in no time. But it was kind of sad to see, you know, Daemon's daughter with her dragon egg trying so desperately to hold it in front of the fire and get it to hatch. That made me sad for her. But this episode was just sad all the way around, I feel like. But it's still going strong for me. Like I'm still in, because the amount of anger that I have towards Alicent and Sir Criston, the amount of anger that I have for them shows me that I am tied into the show, and I desperately want to see Rhaenyra win. I don't know. Like, Alicent is just not a very likable character, and Sir Criston at this point is definitely not a likable character. I don't even know how you flip-flop that way. And I get that at the end of episode 5, Alicent, you know, stopped him from taking his own life. But good golly, Rhaenyra did not force you to do anything, my bro. Like, calm down. He seems like he is just petulant and very self-serving and not a very nice man. So I'm very glad that she ditched him for her baby daddy, Harwin Strong, because Harwin at least seems like he was a good man while he was there. And I am so sad. I don't know what it is with George R. R. Martin that he has to kill off everyone. Like, everyone just dies, you know. He has to just be mean to everyone that you like. If you get used to them, don't get used to a character because something terrible will happen to them. That is what George R.R. Martin has taught us about writing, that's for sure. So let me know what you guys thought of episode 6 of House of the Dragon. Subscribe if you want to join the Movie Nerd family, and I hope to see you in the next episode. Next.